Today on Inspired Money.
And when you think about it, we know, of course, that the student loan problem in America is huge, $1.5 trillion in debt outstanding. So great topic that you obviously were right on top of because of your personal circumstances.
Right. Yeah, and we here at FinCon, we know that that is a huge issue that's going to resonate with a lot of people. And we saw it today. We saw a whole 1,700 people jumping up and down, dancing, singing along.
She was a backup dancer.
She was a backup dancer. She literally was.
This is episode 11 with math teacher turned hip-hop artist, Dee-1. Welcome to Inspired Money. My name is Andy Wong, a managing partner at Runnymede Capital Management. Each week, we bring you an interesting person to help you get inspired, shift your perspectives on money, and achieve incredible things. From making it to giving it away, Inspired Money means making a difference, creating something bigger than oneself, and maybe, just maybe, making the world a better place. Thank you for joining me. The show notes for this week's episode can be found at inspiredmoney.fm/001. Inspired Money is brought to you by my company, Runnymede Capital Management. We help clients to plan, invest, and worry less. Whether you're building wealth or planning for retirement, we're here to help. Learn more about us and educate yourself for free by subscribing to our blog at inspiredmoney.fm. Hey, Inspired Money listener. So good to be back. First things first, if you listened to episode 10, I teased that our guest this week would be retired Episcopal Bishop Jack Spong. My apologies for a change in plan. I'm freshly back from FinCon, the conference where money and media meet. It's the place where 1,700 financial bloggers, podcasters, and video content creators gathered to network, inspire one another, and improve their crafts. I met the most amazing people, from millionaire bloggers to those just starting out. There were expert speakers. I even stumbled into unplanned opportunities for selfies with Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income, Darren Rouse of ProBlogger, Mark Asquith of Excellence Expected and podcast websites, and even best-selling author David Bach. You might know him as the Latte Factor guy or recognize him from his many appearances on Oprah. So before heading out to Texas, I received an email explaining that all attendees would have an opportunity to record with the recording gear on site, and we should take advantage of the chance to invite one of the attendees or speakers as a guest onto one of our podcasts. So here was my grand plan. I wanted to sit down with the very unique hip-hop artist Dee-1. He was scheduled to perform at the conference, and he sings about paying off student debt and proudly not having a car note or a car loan. Making my grand plan even grander was that I wanted to invite Lynette Kalfani-Cox, who you may remember from Inspired Money episode 6, to join me. I sent a lot of emails requesting an interview to Dee's manager. And it was my stubborn positive thinking that had me refusing to make any alternative plans just in case Dee said no. It was 2 days before my scheduled interview time. I still had nothing scheduled, and then I heard from Dee's manager. From that point on, it was a roller coaster trying to schedule a new recording time slot and coordinating with Dee. And then Lynette, who gave a killer keynote presentation, by the way, was also super busy at the event, so I needed to make sure that she was available. I think I had and then lost this interview about 5 times over. And then finally we got it. 6.5 hours after originally planned. A huge thanks to Philip P.T. Taylor, who organizes FinCon, and a special shout out to Steve Stewart, who introduced me to Jared Easley, the organizer of Podcast Movement, another conference. After knowing me for only 5 minutes, Jared generously and unbelievably lent me his recording gear to capture the episode you're about to listen to. In this episode, you'll learn 1. The lessons that Dee-1 learned that taught him that saving is more important than bling. 2. Why it's important that somebody telling you no should never deter you from pursuing something you're passionate about. And 3. Dee-1 wants you to identify your gifts and then use them for the right purpose. Famous MC and hip-hop philosopher KRS-One once said, "Rap is something that is done. while hip-hop is something that is lived. Today's guest is a living example. Now let's get inspired talking to hip-hop artist and motivational speaker, Dee-1. Dee-1, welcome to Inspired Money. Today we're live at FinCon in Dallas, Texas. And for the first time, we have a special guest co-host, Lynette Kalfani-Cox.
The Money Coach here joining us because we have a very special guest in the form of Dee-1. So I'll let you kick it off, Andy, with the first question.
Well, first, I am so excited. We were supposed to meet like at noontime. Dee was under the weather.
I was. I didn't want to tell you that at first, but I was very under the weather.
Now that I got to see you perform, I'm even more excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's jump right in. What's your earliest childhood memory of money?
My earliest childhood memory of money is very vivid. It was my uncle Brian, and he was living with my grandparents at the time. He would come home from work. I don't know where he was even working because I was about 4 years old, but he would come home from work, and whenever he got paid, he had cash. I guess he would go in and cash his check, so he had cash. And he would lay his money out on his bed, and literally, if I could count down to the cent, if I could count the correct amount of money that he had earned that pay period, he would give me a $20 bill every pay period. And I'm like 4 years old, so for me to be counting, multiples of 20 and hundreds and all that type of stuff, instantly I was like, wow, if I'm good with numbers and good with math, it'll equate to money in my pocket, which equates to toys, so that I can go and buy it for myself.
You got good at counting real quickly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so your uncle incentivized you, obviously, to give you some cash there. Talk a little bit about how, I guess, perhaps that laid the groundwork and perhaps planted some seeds in your mind in terms of being good with math. I know you were a math teacher, actually, at one point before you were a rapper, right?
Correct. So numbers had always been something where, like you said, because my uncle incentivized me to be good with numbers, that was something I continued to carry with myself as I grew older. And when I got to the point where I was in middle school, that was the first time that the concept of saving really clicked to me, because I have a story. My grandfather, that's my favorite human being on this earth. And I remember one time when he and my grandmother's cars both broke down at the same time, right? So for me being, 11, 12 years old, this was funny to me. I was like, yo, both of y'all cars are broken. Like, y'all about to be catching the bus with me. Like, what are y'all going to do? So he called me into his middle room, the music room inside the house. He had tons and tons of jazz albums because he loves Miles Davis, John Coltrane, all the great jazz musicians. So he told me to reach inside of this one green album that I saw. So I reached inside the green album, and when I opened it, it wasn't an album inside. It was $25,000 cash. And he told me the importance of always having money saved and not overspending, so that when times like this come up, you already have a stash. That's what he called it, the stash. So ever since that, I always strove to have a stash.
Wow.
And I started applying that method literally starting middle school. I began to build my stash, which would later, when I got a little smarter in high school, become a savings account,
Right. That's a great lesson, because I think so often a lot of our family members, frankly, they didn't know the right thing to tell us what to do, right? I know certainly in my family, in my household, the money lessons were probably on the negative side in terms of what we learned, having credit, debt, things of that nature. Let's talk a little bit about debt, because, one of your songs that you're very famous for, obviously, is about paying off your Sallie Mae student loan debts. And share with the audience, please, if you will, about how your record label originally did not want you to do that song at all.
Correct. So when I finished paying off my student loans, I felt a burst of joy that I had rarely felt in my life. I was like, this is a special feeling right now. I feel so accomplished, so blessed to be student loan debt free. With that being said, I did a song about it because I'm an artist. So heavy emotions evoke art, inspiration inside of me to want to create art. Did a song about it, brought it to my record label, and I was shocked at first that they weren't as excited to share in that sentiment as I was. And I'm like, yo, there's millions of people that are waiting until the day they can say, I finished paying Sallie Mae back. I'm like, trust me, millions of people are waiting for that day. And I just created the anthem. And when they didn't believe in it, luckily, I've lived enough to know that when you're that passionate about something, a couple no's, regardless of what someone's job title is, regardless of how much power they hold, a no from that person should never deter you from pursuing something you're passionate about. I knew that this song needed to reach the public. And once it reached the public, I knew that it would connect. And that's all I want to do as an artist is connect, have my music connect. So I put the music video out on my own. I spent a few thousand, shot the video, and the rest is history. It really blew up for me. It's become my most popular song to date in my career. And it's really thrust me to the forefront of a very important conversation about financial literacy, especially amongst millennials.
Right. And when you think about it, we know, of course, that the student loan problem in America is huge, $1.5 trillion in debt outstanding. So great topic that you obviously were right on top of because of your personal circumstances.
Right.
Yeah, and we here at FinCon, we know that that is a huge issue that's going to resonate with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And we saw it today. We saw a whole 1,700 people jumping up and down, dancing, singing along.
She was a backup dancer.
She was a backup dancer. She literally was.
I have photos, and I'm going to put that in the show notes.
Yes, amazing to see that. Even people who don't normally listen to rap music, but they can relate to the feeling of wanting to be debt-free. You know,
it is a powerful and inspiring message.
Thank you.
And let me say, we should probably say something else because you're doing such a great job to talk to mostly millennials, recent college grads. But the interesting thing about the concept that you've tapped into about being debt-free and getting rid of your student loan debt, it's actually multi-generational. Correct. Because there's millions of people who are well into their 40s, into their 50s, and even 60s and beyond who still have student loan debt, you know? I'm a money expert also for AARP, and so a lot of folks in the 50-plus crowd, they've either co-signed for their kids or their grandkids student loans, or they just had student loans that they haven't paid back. So that anthem, I'm sure, speaks to a lot of people.
Of course. It's been amazing to see a song become an anthem, like you said, for multiple generations. There's elementary schools that are literally, teaching financial literacy and using Sally Maybach to entertain the students because it's fun and it's catchy, but at the same time it has a message in it. And there's people, my grandparents' age, in their 60s and 70s, who are like, hey, that song really resonated with me, and I'm thanking you for that.
Now, Sally Mae ended up contacting you, right? And tell us about that. It's called Knowledge for College Tour?
Yeah, the Dee-1 Knowledge for College Tour. So that is something that Sally Mae and I partnered up to do this nationwide college tour where we've given away a few $100,000 at this point in college scholarships. And what I do is I go to high schools, specifically juniors and seniors, but sometimes we even do freshmen and sophomores, speaking to them about, number one, the importance of college, because for me, graduating from college changed my life. Not going to college, but graduating from college changed my life. Number two, how to effectively plan for and pay for college. There's scholarships. Many students don't know that you just have to apply for scholarships.
Right.
Billions of dollars of free money, but a lot of people don't know you have to go out and apply for them. Just having good grades isn't enough. You have to apply. Grants, filling out your FAFSA form, of course. And then even when it comes to loans, how to be smart if you have to take out loans. So speaking to them about this on the Dee-1 Knowledge for College Tour with Sally Mae has truly been very fulfilling in terms of seeing the lives that it's changed.
Let me ask you one other question. First, as an artist and as a rapper, I mean, obviously, so much of your message is about fiscal responsibility. I know you have another song where you talk about that you're happy that you have no car note, for example, which is the complete antithesis of what you hear every rapper out there practically talking about. There's so much bling and flossing and, kind of living the bling bling lifestyle. You are given an entirely different message. How has the rap community responded to you and others, frankly, in the hip hop world? Because you're not about showing what you have. You're about saving, conserving your money, investing, and so forth.
All the people who spend the most money in hip hop, they respect somebody like me coming along, being myself. Because they're like, he's not a follower trying to be like the rest of us. They're like, yeah, we like to blow our money and spend it on lavish cars. D isn't even faking like that's what he's about. And if anything, they respect that. So that's what I get is a lot of respect. And I think more so than respecting the artistry, they also respect the courage that it takes to stand alone and be different. When societal influence may be, gravitationally pulling me towards wanting to blow my money on expensive, lavish cars or a bunch of jewelry. So, they respect the fact that I'm willing to stand alone. And my goal is to inspire others to feel good. Like, I want people to take pride in not having a car note. A car note is literally a form of debt.
Right.
And it's for something that's depreciating from the second that you buy it. So
minute
for me,
you drive it off the parking lot.
Correct. And I just feel like I want people to reprioritize our wants versus our needs in life. You know, I want my whole generation to think about that. Like, yo, we might want this, but we need that. You know, and once you do that, you'll find that you have a lot more money left.
Dee, I understand that you took a trip to Ghana. And I'm curious what you learned from that. And was that a galvanizing moment for you that sort of sent you down this path?
It was. I don't know how you heard about that, but yeah, you did your research.
You do a little research.
Okay. Took a trip to Ghana during my teenage years. Shout out to Miss Deborah Harley. She was my kindergarten and first grade teacher in New Orleans. She was from Kenya. She started a group in New Orleans where they would take 12 to 15 students every year on a cultural enrichment trip to West Africa, right, to a different country in West Africa. I got selected to go. I had to take part in the fundraising process because it cost like $2,500 to be able to go. We did everything from wash cars to, ask family and friends, got the money, and had an all-expense paid trip to Ghana. Wow. The main thing I took away from that was I thought I lived in the hood before I went to Ghana. I thought that, oh yeah, I live in the Ninth Ward of New Orleans, and man, it's bad down here, and we don't have much. When I went to Ghana and I saw how little they had in terms of material possessions, but how happy they were and how excited they were about the opportunity to take education and use education as the key to open up a whole nother door for them, and a new path in life. And I saw how diligent the students were in school about focusing on their teachers, their lessons, because they saw education as the way out. I also saw that they were happier without all the material possessions that we have than we are in the U.S. with all these material possessions, PlayStations and Xboxes and Jordans and all this type of stuff. So that stuck with me as a teenager. And I literally, from the story about my grandfather to my uncle incentivizing me for being good with numbers, to me going to Ghana and seeing a different type of joy radiate from those students than what I had ever seen, that stuff all influenced me as a teenager to be the man I am today. So it's no coincidence, I guess, that I turned out how I did, because I had life-changing moments that really stuck with me.
It's so interesting that you have the maturity and the perspective to recognize those very formative ideas that were planted in your mind, the seeds that your uncle planted, your grandfather, your kindergarten teacher. And now, frankly, you've turned it around and you're doing the same thing for the next generation. You're taking the lessons that you've learned and imparting them in today's youth and in adults as well, which is totally commendable.
Thank you. I think we all are. That's the thing I like about keeping you all's company and even the people here at FinCon 2017. I think we're all passionate about wanting to help others understand what we understand, which is how to properly manage your money, how to save, how to invest, and understanding the importance of having this conversation. Like, this shouldn't be a taboo conversation. Is how are you managing your money, or what are your plans for how you're going to spend your money? So we're all doing that, and I'm thankful that I can add a different layer to it by being a hip-hop artist. But y'all are doing the same awesome work, and quite frankly, I look up to y'all.
That's great.
Yeah.
This will be my last question I have about mistakes. All of us have made mistakes in our lives. I know I've made a ton of mistakes, that more than I can possibly share, probably. But you've obviously done so many things right, and you had people that set you on the right path. But if you had to say one thing that you said, I could have done this better, or I did this wrong and learned a lesson from me, and you do better, what would be the one money mistake you would cite?
Easy question. Very good. Very great question. When I was in college, I was taking out student loans at one point to fund a lifestyle as opposed to funding my education. So I'm taking out student loans because I wanted to have fresh clothes, every day on campus. I wanted to be the freshest person on campus. I'm taking out student loans because I have all these business ventures, get-rich-quick schemes that I'm like, oh, yeah, I just need $1,000 to start that. Take another loan out, that type of stuff. That was a mistake, definitely. I hope that everyone listening can understand that, student loan money should be used for student loans. And you have to pay it back, even if your business doesn't pop off, or even if you don't graduate from school. So that's why I tell people, make sure that if you're going to go to college, you're going because you're committed to graduating.
Right. And there's a reason they're giving you that money, like you said, for school, for tuition, fees, room and board, books and supplies, the essentials of higher education. So great lesson.
Yeah,
great
thank
lesson
you.
there.
I just love your message about like money responsibility, and it's just such a powerful and inspiring message. But it's even better when the message is being broadcast via your music, because music is like the universal language that cuts across cultures and languages. Like people just get up and dance. So I just love that. I'm wondering, how do you, like looking at your life, how do you define success?
I define success by, I think we all have a gift and we have a purpose. So with that being said, success is partially defined by, am I using my gift, my God-given gift? I don't have to try hard to be a good rapper or to be a charismatic entertainer, to be honest with you. It comes naturally to me. That's a gift that I was blessed with. I don't have to try hard or force myself to be passionate about numbers or money or math. You know, something I've been loving since I was a little kid. The fact that I'm able to use that, I don't have to try hard to want to influence, you know, the next generation coming after me. That's why I was a teacher. Like, these are things I love. So success is defined by, am I using my gifts that I was blessed with, number one. Number two, am I using them for the right purpose? So like, this is, for example, my new album that's coming out November 10th, Slingshot David, pre-order it right now, go get it. It tells the music is great, but the story that I tell on the album, I'm even more passionate about the story, because not only is it about identifying what your gift is or what your slingshot is in life to be able to defeat your Goliath, but you have to know how to use that slingshot. David could have used his slingshot to hit himself over the head or hit the people in his own army, you know, with rocks. If he wasn't using the slingshot properly, it wouldn't have been effective like what it was meant to be. That being said, I define success by, am I properly using my gifts for the right purpose? And when I see the smiles that I put on people's faces, when I see the moment in people's head to where the light bulb goes off and they're like, whoa, this dude really sparked a change that I want to make in my life, or how I handle my money, or how I'm living my life. That's when I know that I'm using my gift for the right purpose. Because I could be rapping about a bunch of other stuff, as we know, that wouldn't have a positive message in it. So that's how I define success. It's not by a certain dollar amount. It's not by a certain amount of albums sold. I'm in the business of really changing lives.
Amen. It's really a gift to be connecting to your purpose in life. I think many people are not as fortunate to have that. Do you think that that's something that people have to think a lot about, or is it more just following your heart?
Yeah, no, people have to think about it, because in this world, you know, that's why I love kids so much, because they're so unfiltered in terms of their honesty. And when they love something, they're going to let you know. When they hate something, they're going to let you know. If they think my outfit is ugly, they're going to let me know. If they think I smell bad, they're going to let me know. That being said, from the time you start to get into school, though, you know, even elementary school, I think that there's a bunch of factors in this world we live in that try to deter you from wanting to pursue what you're naturally passionate about. So all of a sudden you get these middle schoolers, these high schoolers who have a certain passion and a certain skill set, but they've been brainwashed to think that they can't turn that into a career. So now the disconnect begins. Then you go to college. You got a ton of people who are majoring in stuff that they don't care about. I was almost one of those people, majoring in engineering at first. Why? Because my mom, and she loves me to death, but my mom said, oh, you should be an engineer because they make a lot of money. So that pressure, and coming from a household where we didn't have a lot of money, it's like, all right, that's what I need to do to be a good son. And yeah, I can do that. And it wasn't something I was passionate about. Imagine if I wouldn't have changed my major to business, you know, business marketing, something I was much more passionate about. So that's part of the problem, man, is that there's a huge disconnect between what people are passionate about but what they're actually pursuing in life. That's what's so inspiring about being in here with 1,700 adults, and many of them are financial bloggers and have passions that they're ultimately trying to turn their passion into their profession. I can relate to that journey. I've been there. So it's good to know that there's still people who may not have done that and bridged that gap yet, but they're on a mission to do it. You know, and it's never too late. It's never too late to start walking in your purpose.
Well, I can tell you there are a lot of Asians who are doctors and lawyers, and they are not happy with their jobs.
Man.
So thank you so much for sharing your music with us today, sharing your message. Can you tell the Inspired Money listener where they can find you and find more about you?
Sure. Everyone can follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Dee-1 Music, DEE, the number 1, music. Also, my website is DEE1music.com. And finally, you can search me on all music platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon, Google Play. And my new album is called Slingshot David, and it will be out on November 10th, and you can pre-order it right now.
I tell everyone, I encourage you to go get that new album. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you again. And thank you, Lynette Khalfani-Cox, the money coach, for one, being such a great co-host, and two, for being a fantastic backup dancer today. That was something.
Amazing.
We had a lot of fun.
Amazing.
And I was like, I'm with you. I can testify. No car note and paying my Sally Mae student loan back. I had $40,000 in student loans and paid mine back as well. And I told you, you said,
so I was talking to you when I said,
talking to me when you mentioned your 1998. I was thinking, that's me. I have a 2002 Toyota Highlander, and I have not had a car payment since 2005. So I totally get it. And I was right along with you in terms of being inspired, and great session.
You really inspired me up there with your talk. Honestly, just knowing how accomplished you are, and you're self-made. You know, you're self-made with your books and with everything. So I'm thankful, because what I'm doing, just to be honest with y'all, I don't have a lot of mentors or people to look up to. I'm a trailblazer, so there's not other rappers who have done what I'm doing that I'm kind of like calling for advice and whatnot. So people like you all are the people I look up to as far as mentors.
Well, thank you for being a trailblazer, and we're glad. I think you would have been a fantastic math teacher. You would have helped a lot of kids, but I think you can help a lot more through your music. So thank you
so much.
He's teaching millions. Thank you again for joining us.
Much love.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
That was nice.
It totally blows my mind that this interview came together. Thank you to the money coach, Lynette Khalfani-Cox, for joining me. Can you join me every week, Lynette? Could you? Oh man, we'd had such a blast. Thank you to Dee-1 and his management team. And thank you to everyone at FinCon. All the friends that I made and all the future friends that I hope to make next year. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. What were your favorite inspired money moments? I love Dee-1's inspired purpose and mission, his courage to be different. Even though he's changed careers to follow his passion of music, I think he's still very much a teacher. He just traded in the classroom for the stage. I hope that you'll get an opportunity to see him perform live. You should have seen David Bach's reaction to Dee. He loved it so much, and he predicts that once the new album drops, Dee is about to blow up. So keep an eye out and please support. Coming up next time on Inspired Money. Were you ever afraid of being a controversial figure?
Yeah, I was in Tarboro. I was public enemy number 1 of the Ku Klux Klan. That was official designation at a fire burning in the country. I was always proud of that. I wanted that on my tombstone. But yeah, it was tough.
That's retired Episcopal Bishop Jack Spong, author of 24 books. His critics call him a heretic, but supporters say his defense of ethnic minorities, women, and gays bring relevance, rationality, and hope. Hey, before you go, if you like Inspired Money and you don't want to miss the next show, go to iTunes right now and hit subscribe. Now, if you want to go the extra mile, and I know you do, also leave a rating and review. When you're done, send me an email with your iTunes username and your address, and I'll mail you an autographed CD of Jim Kimo West and Ken Emerson's Slackers in Paradise. Just to clue you in, all the music on today's show is by Jim Kimo West. Aloha and mahalo, Kimo. Want to be an inspired moneymaker? Do something that scares you. Do something that's going to make you better. Do something to give back in a bigger way to the world. Tweet me or email me what you're up to. And until next time, find your inspiration and run with it.